and welcome to the wrap-up for week 6 of separation processes. So this week we introduced the topic of molecular diffusion, and we looked at how we can use Fick's law of diffusion to describe diffusion in binary mixtures. We looked at 2 different scenarios that relate to diffusion. The first of those was equimolar counter-diffusion, where 2 species diffuse at equal rates but in opposite directions. The second case that we looked at was diffusion through a stationary phase or through a stagnant phase, and we showed how we can use a log mean correction factor for both gases and liquids to account for the stationary phase. We went through one particular worked example this week, and that related to the diffusion limited combustion of carbon, so carbon burning in pure oxygen, and the fact that the rate at which it combusts was limited by the rate at which oxygen could diffuse to the surface of the carbon, or conversely, how fast the product carbon dioxide could diffuse away from the surface of the carbon. Next week we'll continue with molecular diffusion, and we'll introduce the concept of mass transfer coefficients. This is a really critical enabling concept that we will use in quite some length when we go on to the later sections of the unit, in particular looking at gas absorption in packed beds. Next week, assignment 3 is due, and the problem statement for that will be up on the web shortly. As always, I encourage you to submit your assignments nice and early, and the tutors and I will mark your assignments and get them back to you within 48 hours. If you've been doing your assignments so far by doing them by hand and scanning them and submitting the PDF, assignment 3 will be shorter than both assignment 1 and assignment 2. So because it's a smaller assignment, I'd really encourage you to have a go at typing up your assignment on the computer. The reason I encourage you to do that is that firstly, next year you'll be doing your major design project, and in design you will have to write up all of your equations, all of your working, all of your calculations on the computer to be formatted and go into your final report. So eventually you need to get used to typing equations and typing up your working and graphs and figures on the computer. Perhaps more importantly though, after you finish design, you will graduate and work as an engineer or in some other capacity, and when you do that, wherever you work, you'll be expected to deliver your calculations, your working, your analysis in a typed up fashion. So please, if you've been doing the assignments by hand, assignment 3 will be a shorter assignment, so it's an ideal opportunity for you to have a go at typing up your working. The lab project will start in week 8 for this unit, so next week is week 7, but the lab project will start in week 8, and if you haven't already, please sign up for a group. I'm going to give a lecture to the class, or a mini lecture to the class before we start the labs, to tell you what is required in the pre-lab report, how to do the lab, and then what's required in your post-lab report, the major report. If you want to look ahead and find out those details, all of those slides have been up in Moodle since last week, so you can have a look at those. Hope you have a great weekend. See you on Monday morning, nice and early.